Dear students, welcome to the online classes program of Higher Education Department, Punjab. It is Department of English Language and Literature of Govt Postgraduate College, Attock. Here, I am Sharif Zahid, Assistant Professor of English.
Well, gentlemen, in the series of online lectures, let me revise in last lecture we were discussing about Bertrand Russell has given us two types of education. The first one, church education, and the second one, state education. But denying both these, he lays stress on the need of universal education. Rather, he is of the opinion that we should evolve a cultural internationalism because the solution of all these problems goes in developing a common civilization. And in the final paragraph, we were discussing about appointment of a teacher, then how a teacher in this department of education ought to be appointed, whether should we prefer his nationality or his competency. Let us resume where we left in the last lecture and let us start from the text. In democratic countries, these evils have not yet reached anything like the same proportions. To what thing does Bertrand Russell consider evil? Evil is imparting education through church or imparting education through state. With him, both of these approaches are evils. So he is of the opinion that where there are democratic governments, in such like countries, so it is not up to this extent, but it must be admitted that there is a grave danger of similar developments in education. Means if in future we are going to adopt this system, and that this danger can only be averted. And how can we avert this risk? Very important lines. He has given a solution of this problem is that if we want to avoid both these approaches, dominance of church or dominance of state, then what should we do? The solution is, if those who believe in liberty of thought are on the alert, mean those who think that nobody's ideas should be suppressed. Rather, everyone should be given the chance of expressing himself or herself. So they should know. Should be on alert means very much should they keep in their mind is to protect teachers from intellectual bondage. What is intellectual bondage? Intellectual bondage is serving under the dominance of state or serving under the control of church is intellectual bondage on the part of the teacher. So in any way, teacher should not feel himself or herself a slave. And the further solution given by the writer himself is, perhaps the first requisite is a clear conception of the services which teachers can be expected to perform for the community. So first of all, we should make it clear enough that which type of service we are to take from the teachers for the benefit of the community. I agree with the governments of the world. Writer Bertrand Russell, that the imparting of definite uncontroversial information is one of the least of the teacher's functions. Means the minimal thing is that teachers should impart an impartial education, means should not generate any type of confusion among the minds of the students, or there should be nothing controversial. It is of course the basis upon which the others are built. Means when he or she will start from this, then definitely he or she will be successful imparting his or her own ideas further. And in a technical civilization such as ours, it has undoubtedly a considerable utility. To England, he considers that we are a technical civilization. So, for such a country, it is very useful activity. What is that useful activity? Imparting of definite, uncontroversial information. There must exist in a modern community a sufficient number of men who possess the technical skill required to preserve the mechanical apparatus upon which our physical comforts depend. It means there should be a large number of skilled people in the community to serve the purpose of all these comforts and facilities given by scientific advancement. Then he gives us a clue that it is moreover inconvenient of any large percentage of the population. How that is inconvenient? When they are unable to read or write. It means if a considerable population of any country remains illiterate, then how can we make them understand or motivate them or convince them? For these reasons, to overcome such like all problems, we are all in favor of universal compulsory education. It means there should be a law made by the United Nations and should be implemented upon all the member countries that up to such and such level there should be universal compulsory education. But governments have perceived that it is easy. In the course of giving instruction while teaching, it remains easy. What does remain easy while teaching? To instill beliefs on controversial matters, because there are variety of people. So if we impart certain thing which is liked by one group of the people versus another group of the people, so their attention remains on their own issues and they least pay attention towards the governance or delivery of the government to its society. So the governments consider it is an easy way out. What is that easy way out? For giving instruction to instill beliefs on controversial matters and to produce habits of mind which may be convenient or inconvenient to those in authority. Means so that people should remain busy in their own personal matters and grudges, and they should not pay attention to the governance, whether it is poor or effective governance. In the next lines, Bertrand Russell threw light on the defense of the country. And what a nice idea he has given to us. It is the point to ponder upon. Russell says that defense of the state in all civilized countries is quite as much in the hands of teacher as in those of the armed forces. He is drawing a parallel, as armed forces of any country are responsible for the defense of its boundaries and all national assets. Similarly, he says that defense of the state in all civilized countries. First of all, he has given that all those who consider themselves civilized one. In such like countries where literacy rate is high, a vast majority of the people are able to read and write. So, in such like countries is quite as much in the hands of teacher. How the defense of the country is in the hands of teacher? Teachers have no rifles, no tanks, no missiles, no aircrafts. How can they defend their country? As in those of the armed forces can do because they are well trained and they have that arms and ammunition for fighting against anyone. How can teachers defend? Teachers can make the minds of their students. They can convince them they can motivate them. But the problem stands in the way is that except in totalitarian countries, which type of countries are totalitarian countries? Where there is the government of a single party and there is no challenge of opposition. The defense of the state is desirable, and mere fact that education is used for this purpose is not in itself a ground of criticism. So, everybody should be taught, it is compulsory. How they should be taught? It depends upon the sitting government. The comfort level goes with the government of the day. Criticism will only arise if the state is defended by obscurantism and appeals to irrational passion. What is obscurant? Means the ideas which are not deep enough, grave enough, just you are to make them laugh, you are to amuse them, and you are to kill the time, pass the time, so that students may not think deeply, and appeals to irrational passion. Such methods are quite necessary in the case of any state worth defending. Of course, every state is worth defending, so every state ought to be taught seriously. Nevertheless, there is a natural tendency towards their adoption by those who have no first-hand knowledge of education. And the pity is that education is in the hands of such people who do not know what education is. There is a widespread belief that nations are made strong by uniformity of opinion. Means a vast majority of the people consider that everybody should think in a uniform way and there should be no difference of opinion. Or people think by the suppression of liberty, nobody should be granted any liberty to do this or that as per his own will and wish. One hears it said over and over again, means repeatedly we hear this statement that democracy weakens a country in war. Now consider, God forbid, war breaks out in any country and the ruling party belongs to democracy. So, do you think that the country will win the war? While on the other hand, the same war breaks out and the ruling party is any dictator? So, a common belief is considered by the people that where there is a democracy, it weakens a country in war. In spite of the fact that in every important war since the year 1700, the victory has gone to the more democratic side. What does history teaches us? History says that those who are more democratic, they always win the wars. Nations have been brought to ruin much more often by insistence upon a narrow-minded doctrinal uniformity. Means those who press their views that everybody should do, act, think as government desires. Then comparison by a free discussion and the toleration of divergent opinions. Where there is free discussion, where the opinions differ from one another and people tolerate and accept them, such a like nation prosper. Dogmatists the world over believe that although the truth is known to them, those who have narrow mindedness or a limited opinion, they know that we are ignorant of the fact world over. But in their own country, they believe that others will be led into false beliefs provided they are allowed to hear the arguments on both sides. So, to their own believers, they do not allow to attend the opinion of the rival party. There is a view which leads to one or other of two misfortunes. Means there is another theology, point of view, and in either case that is not a successful one. Either one sect of dogmatists conquers the world and prohibit all new ideas. If the people who believe in one sect, they conquer the world, definitely they forbid all of them. And what is worse, the worser situation arises when rival dogmatists conquer different regions and preach the gospel of hate against each other. Means in one region, one sect is ruling, in another region, the other sect is ruling, and so on. So, what will happen? The former means dogmatist ruling all over the world. This is former. The former of these evils existing in the Middle Ages. During Middle Ages, only there was one sect ruling government. The later means that various sects ruling on various parts of the world. This is later. The later during the wars of religion, and again in the present day. The present day with Bertrand Russell is 19th century and 20th century. So, what does happen if dogmatists rule over the world? The first makes civilization static. Civilization does not progress, it comes to a static position. The second means rule of the dogmatist of one sect in one part of the world and the other sect in other part of the world. What does happen in this case? The second tends to destroy it completely. What is it? It is civilization. That the civilization is destroyed totally, altogether. Now, what is the duty of the teacher? Against both, means both of these evils. The teacher should be the main safeguard. So, it is the duty of the teacher to protect his followers, his students, his learners from such type of division. So, Bertrand Russell gives us a new parameter of imparting education. He does not favor that there should be the rule of a single party or a single nation. Rather, we must allow all people to discuss, to share, and to contribute in the betterment of community. Thank you very much for happy watching. Stay blessed.